Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, a safe place for leading with your heart. Hey, thanks for being here. You, Me, Empathy is the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective, a collaborative mental health community designed to empower each of us to grow our capacity for empathy, vulnerability, and emotional wayfinding. Just a friendly reminder that this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. No one is just a silly boy with a feely heart. You can support the show by leaving a review in Apple Podcasts, following us on social media at Yumi Empathy and Feely Human, and joining the Feely Human Collective community at feelyhuman.co. And now your host, Known Wells.
Hello, Feely Humans. Welcome to another episode of You, Me, Empathy. My name is Known Wells. I am the creator of this podcast. I'm also the founder of the Feely Human Collective, where we collectively, together, heart in heart, hand in hand, like Care Bears, grow our collective capacity for empathy, vulnerability, and emotional curiosity. This is episode 230 on raising the volume on voices that matter with my guest, Rebekah Borucki. Rebekah is the president of Row House Publishing, where they are disrupting the publishing industry. It's very fascinating. I am one of the investors in Row House, full transparency there. They're doing tremendous work and publishing tremendous books, tremendous work. Check them out at rowhousepublishing.com. And follow at Row House on Instagram and elsewhere. In this conversation, Rebekah and I explore how strangers are the family we haven't gotten to know yet, the fascinating differences between our respective religious upbringings, the intricacies, that's better, of privilege, and we dig into all things Row House. Really loved this conversation. One side note is that I was having microphone trouble throughout this conversation, and I just wanted to give a shout out to Rebekah for being so gracious and patient throughout for my mic issues. So I left one of those little snafus in, and you could hear how wonderful Rebekah is throughout that little snafu of mine. So enjoy that. Really love this conversation. We go deep on religion and God and intersectionality and activism and all things, awareness, etc. Content warning, we do talk about death and grief, of course. We do say lots of words like fuck, etc. So kids listening, well, I mean, if Rebekah's kids are listening, Rebekah's kids say fuck. So that's a thing we talk about, and it's delightful. So I really hope you enjoy this episode. Couple of things up top. On Wednesday, I will be publishing a special episode, a little bonus episode of the pod. I won't be publishing show notes for that, but just a little bonus episode about a change that I'm making to the Feely Human community at large. I shared about it on Instagram, and it's essentially about how I am transitioning away from Instagram as a community building place to this community building platform called Heartbeat. And it's because I want to, as Ariel said, be where the people are. I want to be in connection with you. I don't want to fight an algorithm. I really, truly want to make a difference in my community, and I'm tired of creating stuff and doing stuff on Instagram without really connecting with you. So if you want to hear about that, check it out on Wednesday. Make sure to listen to that. And if you can't, or if you don't, definitely make sure to check out the posts on Instagram at YouMeEmpathy or at FeelyHuman. You can read that. And to stay in touch, this new community will be coming October 1st. That is my promise. I will be working toward that, building that all by my lonesome, hopefully with your input in the coming months. But if you want to stay in touch, please sign up for the newsletter, the Feely Human newsletter. You can do that in the show notes for this episode, or just go to feelyhuman.co, click the banner at the top and sign up for the newsletter. That's the best way to stay in touch and stay connected right now and hear about what's coming up. And the best way to support me on an ongoing basis is just to leave a rating and review in Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to this show. Please, of course, I have merch and stuff, so if you want to do that. For those who, this is exciting, for those who pre-ordered a Dear Childhood Me journal, those have started to go out. I've started shipping out, and writing little messages to you already. Those have already started to go out for the classic versions. I had to reprint the pocket versions. Those will be going out in the next couple of weeks, so you'll be getting those soon. Thank you for your patience. And yeah, I think that's it. Let's get to the episode, shall we? And look out for that bonus episode on Wednesday. This is episode 230, Raising the Volume on Voices That Matter, with Rebekah Borucki.
La la la, you, me, empathy, yeah, la la la.
Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective. On this show, we explore the struggles, the triumphs, the brights and the darks we face as humans trying to get by on this wondrous and overwhelming pale blue dot. The intent of You, Me, Empathy is to talk openly without judgment about our mental health, our neuroses, our shared anxieties and worries, to create a dialogue that is vulnerable and deeply human and empathetic, and to share that dialogue with others to inspire emotional and cognitive collaboration and insight so we can, hand in hand, break down the stigma that make us feel shame and guilt for struggling, for feeling our feelings, for being feely humans. You, Me, Empathy is a safe, friendly space designed to inspire the beauty in each of us. Today, I am delighted to be sandwiched lovingly between the Rainbow Connection, Rage Against the Machine, and biracial neuro-riotous, mom to 5 kiddos, author and founder and president of Row House Publishing. It's Rebekah Borucki. Hello, Rebekah.
Hello, how are you today? That was such a great intro.
Thank you. I'm doing okay. How are you?
We talked a little bit about, what's going on in my day before we started recording. I appreciate you giving me space there to vent, but I'm doing okay. It feels better once having said all the things. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, if you aren't a listener to this show, first of all, how dare you? But second of all, I'm just kidding. We always kick off the show with an emotional check-in. So how are you feeling? You don't have to talk about what happened this morning, but you can just get into your emotional state if you're open to it.
I think that where is my emotional state right now? Wow. I've never been asked this on a podcast before. I think that I feel supported, and that feels really good. So even though there's a lot going on around me, right, I feel very confident that I have the tools to handle it. So, and the people. Yeah. So
I love that. I love that. The tools and the people. We need that. Yeah.
Surely.
Yeah. I mean, so long I struggled myself not having the people and not knowing what those people looked like. It took a long time for me to figure out what those people look like. Do you relate to that at all?
I don't. And
Great.
I'll say that one of the reasons that I count myself very lucky, like a lucky human, is because very early on in my life, I grew up in a religious household, but I would call my mother more of a Christian mystic. She was very much like an earth mama, full moon ceremony person.
I love that.
Yeah. But she told me very early on when I was just asking about, I don't know what the conversation must have been about. I was 5 years old. And she said, Rebekah, you have a direct connection with God that no man or minister can come in between. You speak directly to God and God speaks directly to you. And I think because it was very true to her and I was very young, so it felt very true to me, that it embedded itself in me in a way that has really supported me throughout my life. And I also had this deep understanding and this deeply held belief, which was also passed down from my parents, that, we are quite literally all children of God. Like, we're here as siblings. So like, there are no borders. I've never said the Pledge of Allegiance. They weren't down with that, right? Like, they didn't believe in borders and all that. We don't believe in, that we don't believe that family ends at the, the walls of our house, right? So I feel like even, like neighbors are just family that I haven't really gotten to know yet. Like people that I, strangers are family I haven't gotten to know yet. So I feel really supported, and I feel good about extending myself to others, and I feel good about asking for help.
That's beautiful.
It really is. It's really, I think it's been a beautiful blessing in my life.
Yeah. I really love this idea of the neighbor as the family member you haven't met yet. Like, there's something really beautiful and hopeful and compassionate about that, right? So I was also raised in a religious home, but evangelical Christian, so there was a lot of talking about, Jesus's teachings, and some of them are very beautiful, right? And loving and compassionate and deeply empathetic, and hearing about them, and then seeing how my parents operated within the church, and then how the church itself, at least the churches that I was raised in, didn't seem to align. Like, there was some sort of disconnect happening between what I was hearing about in the Bible or Jesus's teachings, and how my parents were acting, or how my parents treated other people, and how my parents othered other people, right? And there was a lot of exclusion and a certain amount of righteousness that always felt, even as a kid, where I couldn't really define it or have the tools to really figure out what it meant to me. It felt off. It felt weird.
Yeah, kids are good that way. They're very discerning when something just doesn't match up, because they don't justify, they don't rationalize. They're just like, nope, that's not working. So
it's it's a feeling. It's the core. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my parents were not saints or like, they weren't even the most awesome parents, but I think that their core values really live on in me. They're no longer with us here on the planet, but, I look to them. I see how I've created my life, and it's very much in, tributes, and, I give a lot of credit to them. They were humble people. There was no hierarchy of like status or position, with them. And they were really adamant about, not to make this like a religious podcast, but, for them, for their practice, it was like, Jesus told us to do two things: love God, love your neighbor, period. That's it. And if you're doing those two things, you don't need to worry about any of the other commandments, because you'll fall in line, right? Like you'll treat people with respect. You'll show up for family. So these are the things that we need to do. This is what we've been called to do. So I just go back to that, and we do it imperfectly, but that's part of being human. And I think that's really an exciting part of being human, is this opportunity to learn. We're not born perfect, and that's cool, because we get to figure it out. I love seeing my own children kind of, with a safety net of me, but like kind of learn stuff and figure things out. And it's really exciting for me to witness that through them. So I look at whoever our creator is, whatever our creator is, like this really, cool opportunity for that entity to see, their children kind of like figure it out. So, I mess up and whatever. I mean, I'm sure constantly disappointed.
Well, what's striking about the difference between the way I was raised and maybe the religion you were raised in, or the mindset you were raised in through a religious framework is, so my name is known. It's a made up name. It means known by God. My parents made it up.
Oh.
And this God is the evangelical God. This is the sort of the judgy God, right? Like that I was raised in, right? Mm-hmm. And there's in my experience within the church, and I think for a long time I held a lot of anger toward that, and I've since, I'm 40 now, I've since sort of shed a lot of that. But in my experience, there was a lot of, it's the opposite of what you're describing. What you're describing is this open, loving collective. Let's continue to change and learn and do it together, because that's how humanity should progress and grow and et cetera. Whereas the framework I was raised in, it was like, guarded and like, and I am right and you're wrong, and like creating these divisions, which always felt so the opposite of what living should be. Like in my mind, living is failing and fucking up and learning and changing and growing in connection with each other, not in these sort of isolated pods of like, I'm right and you're wrong, and let's like, ban abortions or whatever, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could qualify it by this, a little bit more information about my mother. I mean, she grew up in the Catholic Church. She was forced to place a child for adoption after a secret pregnancy that she was sent away for when she was 16. She was in an abusive marriage that when she left and divorced him, she was abandoned by her church and her parents for a period of time. So I think that there was an amount of trauma that, obviously informed how she, created her own relationship with God. Yeah. And then, for her to say, she was telling me basically like confession is a joke. Like you don't need to go into a box and talk to a man who's going to like pass it on. Right. Like God is everywhere. And also with church, like we did go from church to church to church when I was a kid because of things that were happening that weren't aligned with my parents' beliefs. And, finally my mom was like, it says right there in the Bible, wherever two or more are gathered, I am in your presence. Right. So like church is everywhere. You get some people together to talk about what you believe. That's church. So for me, a lot of my experience with church is, a bit in a drum circle with my mom. My God, I can't believe the weird stuff she made me do when I was a kid. But like being in a drum circle, which is awesome now. But I was like, Mom, I'm 15. This is really weird.
Yeah. Who are these
Bible
guys
study.
with their shirts off? Why do they have paint on their face?
It was more like middle-aged women in a bookshop, like trying to do something. But or like, Bible study, like we're just going to get around and talk about this because we are completely qualified to have our own opinions, value our own interpretations. So my parents were parents that I often disagreed with, and they never voted. They were very much outside of the political system. And I'm just like, we vote in every election all the time under any circumstance. Yeah. And we would have big fights about this, but they were grounded, good people who loved people, and they were well loved. Right. Yeah. So that's, I think, a life well led, Yeah.
When you talk, you talk about what church is to you, and it's, communion and it's gathering and it's talking about our beliefs and stuff with each other. Like, how do you today, as a human in the world, mom of five, founder of a company, publishing company, how do you define God? Like when you talk about God, how do you define it or they or him or she, et cetera?
I think because of habit and upbringing, I still kind of give them a very human, like a lot of human traits. Definitely not him or he, him, she, they, she, her, whatever. None of that. But my belief as an adult person is that we are really part of something that is intelligent and something that is meaningful and purposeful, and that our soul and spirit experience is real. Like our feelings mean something. It's not just this evolutionary function. I have been at the bedside of, I'm a doula as well. More, that's not the way I make money, but I've been at the bedside of many women giving birth and bringing life into the world. And then also I was there when both of my parents passed away, and that shift of energy, that thing that happens is undeniable. So, and I also very much believe that we are, I had a pastor once that said that, humans are just tiny gods in skin suits, which sounds super gross, but it's also like how I look at us. When people say, why does God let bad things happen? I mean, on a personal front, one of my dearest friends from childhood lost a child last week, his 10-year-old son. So why does this happen? And it's like, God isn't that. It's not somebody that's just making decisions over our lives. And I don't do that. I don't subscribe to that. I really believe that we are just here in experience, and God is the energy that connects us all, and that we are these walking spirits that we make these decisions, and sometimes stuff just happens, and sometimes we let it happen. A lot of bad stuff happens because we let it happen, or we make it happen. A lot of times stuff just happens.
Yeah.
So that was like not an answer, but God is everything. God is everything. God is creation. So
it's interesting.
Good, bad, ugly.
I love it. I love it. And I can ascribe to a God of that nature, because that God is not the one you're describing, is opposite of the God of like, I am keeping tabs. I am like making sure you're doing right and wrong, and I'm punishing, and I'm,
how oppressive.
That feels, that's patriarchal God. That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know we were going to get into religion right away, but,
I mean, it's also just human experience. I mean, I think it's very natural for us to wonder, like, what does this mean? What am I here for? And I'm just really here for the experience. Is just such a gift. I try not to question it too much.
We talk about God being everything, and there's a certain beauty in the sort of like a mindfulness to that. There's a presence to that. How do you think? Do you think about life after death? Is there a life after death? Yeah,
all the time. I've, for good or bad, I've been surrounded by death on a pretty constant basis for the past 10 years. I lost every elder in my life. I've had complicated childhood. So I had, a couple extra parents in there, bio parents, adopted parents, step parents.
Yeah.
So I've lost all of them. And so I'm very much connected with first of all, seeing people die with dreams in them, with like missions unfulfilled in terms of, their perspective, which was really painful to see. I've seen people die being scared. And then I'm also at an age, approaching middle age, where I'm seeing that cycle of life where I have friends that are getting ill, losing children, just a lot of that stuff. And so I'm very connected to it, but I'm not afraid. I do think that there's something. I have a deep, deep love for life and a desire to be here. I love being here so much. So I'm not in any hurry to go. But this can't be it. I can't believe it. I can't have seen what I've seen and experienced what I've experienced and loved as big as I've loved. It just can't be it. For what? How would it even make sense? To what end, So
yeah, who knows? I mean,
I don't know.
So if it can't be it, like what happens next?
What happens next? I hope that it's not like us just continuing to be us and having the same concerns and worries. Like I just officiated my younger sister's wedding, and people were saying like, "Oh, your parents are here," and like, I hope my parents aren't on some dusty farm in New Jersey. Like, watching this thing. Like, I hope that they're, on Venus, like on a beach or some other galaxy. Like, so I don't know what I expect to happen. I think that there's this return to dust that, the ashes, dust to dust. I think that there is a return to this tiny atomic molecular state. I don't know. Whatever it is, I surrender to the mystery. I'll say that. I don't think too much about what's going to happen because I'm real busy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really busy with what's going on here.
Do you worry about dying or no?
I worry about dying too soon.
Too soon. What does that mean?
Well, I have 5 children. The oldest is 24 and she's about to have a baby in October. The youngest is 7. There's a lot of things that I want to see. I want to see my grandchild grow up. I'd love to see my great grandchild be born. There's things that I want to witness. And that's when I miss my parents the most, as these big moments where like when people say, oh, they're here in spirit. And I'm like, you know what, though? I really just want to hear them laugh. I really want to see them cry. I don't, the whole in spirit thing is like, whatever. Like, really, like, I really hope that they're surfing in, the far off galaxy.
Yeah.
So I worry about going too soon because I am having fun, but if there's even a slim chance, and this was something that was shared with me from a friend who lost a friend who had previously lost a 6-year-old son.
Oh.
And she was dying of cancer. And my friend asked her, are you afraid? And she said, if there's even a slim chance that I get to reconnect with, her son, then it's okay. I'm sad that I'm going, but I'm not afraid. And I think that that's the way I'll be. I'll be real sad, but I won't be afraid. I want to see things,
Yeah. Being witness to, your kids' children, your kids' children's children. Like, what a beautiful.
I think it's like Mercury retrograde, even though I don't necessarily like buy into that, but there you are. It's like it must be like a connection. It's just kind of like wiggling out.
Hello.
Yeah, you're good. Perfect.
Hello. Okay.
You're good.
What the fuck?
I don't know.
Sorry.
I've been screaming motherfucker all day at like my kids, like they're like mother. And I'm like, I don't care, these motherfuckers.
Sometimes you just need to say fuck.
All the time. That's
all the time. All the time you need to say fuck.
As a mother, that's the clearest. I think that's the clearest evidence of my huge change in motherhood, like how I've evolved, because the oldest kids when they were little couldn't even say fart. Like that's a dirty word. And now the little one's like, fuck this noise. And I'm like, yeah, fuck it.
Your 7-year-old is saying fuck this noise.
Listen, we call them inside words.
I mean, there's no judgment here. I grew up in an environment where sucks was a bad word.
Oh, no. I don't let them say sucks. I don't let them say sucks.
Okay. Because they can say fucks.
Yes.
No sucks. Yes to fucks.
Yeah. Like we could be like, fuck it. Or a lot of times, like we were playing a board game last night. We're big on board games. So we're very competitive. As sweet as we are, we're super competitive. So we're playing a board game and my 7-year-old's like, this is bullshit. And I'm like, you know what it is? It is bullshit. It's healthy. It makes you feel good.
I don't want anyone
DMing me. Yeah.
I agree.
What's the harm?
Well, that's it, right? Are we being mindful around the intent and impact and the audience for our language, right? Like some people are not okay with that, and we need to be mindful of that and respectful of that. And all language really is valid. It's how we use it.
Oh my gosh. Get me started on that, because I think that's when we're talking about, the business, and I've carried so many values over into the business. It's called row house because I grew up in a row house, and community is so valuable to me. But around language and these ways that we communicate and the way that we connect language with class or level of education. I'm a high school opt-out. I'm using opt-out now through, I'm inspired by one of my authors, Trudy LeBron, who wrote the Anti-Racist Business book. And she's also a teen mom and a high school opt-out. But there is nothing about, I'm sorry, there's nothing about the way you speak or how you show up in the world or like, where you went to school or whatever that I attach to value as a human being. And I saw it happening to my authors again and again and again. And, one of the pieces of feedback that we got about Trudy LeBron's book, she's talking about business, and she's a highly qualified, actually highly educated, like traditionally educated woman, who's a mother and a business owner and an entrepreneur and all these things. And we kept getting feedback that the language that she was using in her book was too casual. And to me, and I think to a lot of people, that's just thinly veiled or not so thinly veiled racism.
Yes.
Because she uses, street, and I'm holding up my bunny ear quotation fingers, like street language or slang. And it's just really disappointing how many people we don't listen to because they speak differently. And none of us are speaking the Queen's English. Like, it's not happening. We're not like, hello. We
Good
speak
day to you, Bob.
So the point of communication is, to say the thing and have it received and understood. And if that's happening, then what else do we need? So it's very important to me that we honor the way that our authors speak and not call it a dialect, but it's really just a variation on English, which we all speak. And so the curse words, they're words, and our ocean is, suffocating from plastics, and our forests are burning, and, Black folks are being murdered on television by police. And I'm not going to tell my 7-year-old that she can't say fuck if she feels it, because I can't even imagine being 7 years old right now and seeing adults acting so irresponsibly and carrying the weight of that. So please, Annie, my little Annabelle, say it, feel it. Just don't say it in school, because I don't want to hear from your teachers. I
love it. I love it. And I think you're right. The language piece is often a way in which people can other and simply be racist and exclude and divide. It's similar to this concept. And I wonder if you can speak to this as someone who's a founder and who's been in various work environments. I've certainly have this idea around like professionalism in the workplace, right? And like you have, like I have felt like the call for quote unquote professionalism is just a means to silence, a means to censor, a means to kind of like abandon the things that really challenge us and maybe bring up some discomfort in us. For example, you're the author, you're talking about like them using some language that we may not be used to. And we're going to like lean on this legacy idea of what professionalism means or what words look like, right? There is so much sort of quote unquote legacy thinking in that that's just really problematic.
So in my experience, and just to be completely transparent, it starts with the reason that I left school early was because I was suffering profoundly from mental health struggles. The first time I was hospitalized was 8 years old. I was put on lithium for, quote unquote outbursts, in and out of group psychiatric homes as an adolescent. School and just being in any kind of social environment was extremely difficult for me because there was also undiagnosed neurodivergence, which I say I'm neuro-riotous, but the official diagnosis is autism, ADHD, and OCD. So I, at the same time as like removing myself from environments, I became very adaptive to like navigating the world. And one of those things was I have just never been able to hold a job. Not for lack of discipline, not for lack of know-how. Obviously, I've built companies. I've been very successful in raising my family, but I am completely unemployable, like completely. And so I haven't had the experience where someone said, you need to dress differently or be more professional or whatever. I have had the experience, though, especially of being in the spiritual wellness world, of saying you're too street, or which to me is like so hilarious because I'm like on the least street of my friends, but okay. So it's like you're too street or you're too, or we just don't do that because it's a very white, it's a very, I would say affluent, whatever that means, world. Yeah. So I've had that experience of being othered, and I have witnessed evidence mostly through my own success that it's bullshit. And professionalism means showing up, doing your job, doing it well, also being able to work with others in a way that makes them feel like they are collaborating with you, that they're in partnership with you. That's professionalism. Yeah. Everything else, your hair color, what you're wearing. I mean, don't come to work naked because I don't think that would make a lot of people uncomfortable, but like, let's just be respectful of the way that people need to show up to be their best. You know, so I have had the experience and now having my business. And while I don't have a lot of people working under me because we don't do that either, there's like we have different responsibilities and different titles, but I am communicating and working with collaboratively at least 100 people at all times. It's a big production, all the books, all the authors, all the teams. And we're doing pretty great. I mean, there's not a lot of discussions about people being inappropriate or not being respectful or not showing up. It's like, treat people with respect, show up for the job that you promised you would do, allow yourself to be held accountable, be receptive to feedback, be a team player. It's not hard.
It's not. And yet I recently left a job that ultimately I see now, like, I think I outgrew the company. I see that some of the ways in which I showed up in my sort of big-hearted, passionate ways made certain people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I am someone who grew up guarding all of myself because it felt very unsafe. Very violent father, 2 narcissistic parents. Guarded myself and just like shoved it all down, you know. Eventually learned I had major depressive disorder and all these things, but those came later because like I was so guarded for so long. And I'm at the stage in my life where I'm like, I have this podcast. I started Feely Human. I am being more open and mindful of the fact that we grow in connection with others and that our intersectionality matters deeply. And representation matters, and how we show up matters, and how can we create more space to lean into discomfort around some of these things, and to unearth and dismantle and be curious about our assumptions and how we show up, and the ways in which we show up has impact, even if we're not aware of it, right? So I'm like trying to bring a lot of this in slow ways into this company that I used to work for. And I think ultimately maybe someone complained, maybe the 2 leaders like were just sick of it. And so I left in a very weird kind of dehumanizing way. All of that to say, I feel it's important to, even in the workplace, even in at class and school, etc., like, we are inherently political, passionate people. Like, we should not be censoring that part of ourselves in how we show up in spaces, because a lot of times those rules or regulations or whatever, like, systemic way in which we sort of guide people towards quote unquote good behavior is often deeply problematic, or rooted in white supremacy, or rooted in the patriarchy, etc. I'm all over the place.
No, this makes all the sense. And I think that intersectionality, beautiful word coined by Kimberly Crenshaw. Always want to like give her props. A Black woman. It's an interesting word. And it's also, I think, if I may, in my very humble opinion, something it can be expanded upon, because I'll say this, right? Neurodivergent. there is no part of me that isn't autistic. I can't put it in a box. There's no part of me that isn't biracial, which is not, is even that, it's a binary. Like my dad was Black, but that's a complicated history because my direct ancestor named Thomas Boyer was a slaveholder that by definition of having any kind of relationship with someone that you own, raped my other ancestor, So it's like, there's this, it's the intersection, because I think of streets, right? I think of like Main Street hitting Broadway.
Yeah.
It isn't that. It isn't two separate streets coming together. It's like this big amalgamation of like all of these identities in one, where I don't know why I'm this way. Maybe it's because I'm autistic. Maybe it's because I have anxiety. Maybe, like, who knows?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, because I'm showing up as Rebekah Borucki, this brown woman with a Polish last name, this very Polish last name, that if you say something that's like deeply, deeply troubling to me, I'm there feeling it in all the ways, and you won't see me cry, because maybe that's trauma. Maybe that's my neurodivergence. Who knows? There's all these ways that I show up. I think that what we need to do, and what has not been modeled, and why it makes people so uncomfortable, is we need to show up fully as ourselves, unapologetically, and really transparently. Secrets to me have always been a product of shame.
Yeah.
So while everyone is entitled to their privacy, of course, and their safety and sharing, I always look at secrets as a tool of shame, and I'm not down with that. So it's me showing up for like one of my authors that's having a particularly hard time and saying, I'm here for you. I love you. I see you. I see all of this. Just letting you know, I'm not a person that cries or very touchy-feely. So I'm here with you, but this is what you can expect of me.
I love that.
It's the radical consent that we practice in our house, which we don't name that because my kids were like, Mom, what is that? But it's like, hey, do you need a hug? Do you want a hug? And then the answer might be like, I might say like, I don't want a hug, but if you need one, I'm here for it. Do you want my opinion on this? Are you just coming to vent, or do you want advice? Like, it's those types of things where it's a little bit of work at first. But once you get the hang of it, all the interactions become so peaceful.
Yeah.
Resentment goes away. Like, I can say that we're a peaceful household. We're a household that's happy. We have a lot of fun together. We do not argue, because we might have a disagreement, but it takes like a couple sentences instead of like and like huffing and puffing for days and like ignoring each other, because we have this, I think it's a really radical way compared to how I grew up, of talking about feelings, of commanding respect for who we are, but then also understanding how that might make other people uncomfortable. Everybody in my house is super different. My oldest, my 22-year-old, is from the time he was born, just this very quiet, deep thinker who feels a lot, but doesn't talk much. Lovely, lovely, big heart, but just isn't there for like the histrionics that my oldest might be there for. She brings the drama, she brings the complaining, all of that. My little ones are just so super, super affectionate. And I'm not. My husband's very affectionate. And I'm just kind of like, we can sit next to each other and have parallel experiences. Like, we don't really need to talk or touch.
Yeah.
But it works because we are unapologetic about who we are. And we also have deep respect, regard, compassion for each other. Wasn't always this way. It takes practice. But the alternative is the othering that you were talking about, which is lonely.
So lonely. Yeah. Well,
why would you want to exclude anybody?
I know.
Sorry.
I know. Yeah. I mean, what you're talking about is it's shining a light on all parts of ourselves. And because all those parts are valid, right? All those parts contribute to how we show up, even if we're not aware of it. Right. So, and being witness to all of those parts takes, you said work. It takes practice. Yeah, it takes empathy. It takes curiosity. It takes checking in on how I'm showing up myself and how that impacts things, right?
Yeah. And there's some parts of people that I just do not like, which is cool too. I have a lot of neighbors that I consider siblings that fly certain flags outside of their homes that make me feel threatened, that I don't agree with. And it's like, okay, I will love you from afar and I will challenge you to be better. And I will hold you to a standard that I think we all should be held to be able to like make this planet a place that's livable for all of us. I think that that's important too. Like when I say I love everybody, it just means like I hold space for their humanity and their growth. But I certainly hold a good half of the population with a lot of skepticism.
Right.
I'm looking at them side-eyed.
I mean, let's dig into that because that is a big piece of empathy, I think, which is not a getting to a place of agreeing to disagree, but a getting to a place of like, can I truly like let go of some of these judgments and assumptions before I sort of get into this, before I can create space? So like you're talking about the flag guy or whatever, and I have assumptions about what that flag is because you're not telling me explicitly. So I'm making assumptions. I'm creating a story in my head about this person and these types of people, right? And that's problematic too. So like, what does that look like for you day to day? You're very open about your politics. You're very open about what you believe in. Like, how do you create space for that humanity with that person in a day-to-day basis?
Well, first of all, like, I mean, I didn't vote for Trump. So I think that might be apparent.
Yes, I did not as well, just to be very clear.
Also, my voter registration card is my 18th birthday because I mailed away for it when I was 17 and a half. I've always been I think that politics, it's just, again, it's not something that is separate from me. It informs everything from my uterus, which I have, right, to like every part of me, my skin color, all of it. So it's like, if I see someone that's I see a vote for someone that would threaten my well-being, my safety, I have a trans son, my trans son's safety. I see that as an inhumane, violent act. And I have to protect myself and have a conversation that addresses that. I do not have deference towards people's comfort or for people's comfort when I'm talking about these things, because you are, in my opinion, inflicting harm upon me. So I'm not going to create a safe space for you around your comfort and hearing that.
Yeah.
And this is for the guy down the street. This is for my mother-in-law. It's that, your vote puts my child, and I'll say this, my child is safe. We live in a reliably blue state with incredibly strong laws around the protection of trans students' lives. Even though we live in a conservative area, when my son goes to school, he is respected in his name and his pronouns and his bathroom preference. Even the bus driver got training around this. So I am, you're wearing your Protect Trans Youth sweatshirt. Yay. Thank you. Thank you. But my child is safe. It's about, this is really about all the kids that I know don't go home to a safe and loving home, don't have a church that appreciates them, don't have family members that love them, and a dojo and a guitar teacher and all the other places my son gets to go. So when I see you inflicting harm, like I got to stand up and act just as if you were like wielding a knife at me, right? You cannot be in my space. You cannot be in my home. Okay, you cannot have access to my children. So
it's a boundary. You're creating like a physical and emotional boundary.
A physical and emotional boundary, though, that my voice does cross.
Right.
Because I do not isolate myself. And I have full respect for anyone who has to do that for their own safety, their mental health, all of those things. But I feel called, because I am coming from a place of privilege and safety in many regards, that I can then step forward and put myself on the line to have those conversations. But like when I'm fighting for trans kids or for Q plus, queer folks and, Black folks, brown folks, whatever. I mean, I'm not coming from a place of like self-preservation because I'm good.
Right.
It's really about like my sisters and brothers, and God help me. Like, I don't know what it's like. I don't know how the dark night of the soul you must be having to hold that much hate, to not want to know as many people as possible and like have those connections.
Yeah.
I mean, all the most incredible people in my life hold marginalized identities, so sorry for you, Trump flag guy.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because I do want to, like, I aspire to, I'm a dreamer. I'm in my imagination, and I'm also deeply empathetic and deeply passionate about my beliefs. And I do want to bridge a gap of sorts, right? I do want to and that's really it, right? Like what you're describing is you understand that you have some privilege here, and you're going to use it to try to protect the most vulnerable. I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's core of, in my
That's
belief.
the job.
In my belief, that is Jesus. We're going to cherish and protect and champion and lift up the most vulnerable in our society. And those vulnerable people are Black, brown, Asian, trans, marginalized identities, communities across the board.
I wish we got, though, that when we do that, it's good for all of us. I just don't. That's the other thing about othering. There is no other.
It is. You're right.
Yeah. Like Trudy uses this great metaphor with the elevator. Or maybe it's an analogy with the elevator where like is there for disabled people who cannot navigate the stairs. However, we all use the elevator.
Yeah.
We all like it.
Yeah. It's great.
We all like the
what
elevator.
A wonder of technology.
So when we protect the most vulnerable among us, not just protect, but we make sure that they have opportunity, access, all of those things. It's like, it makes life better for all of us. We all reap those rewards. It's always been that way. So this idea of hoarding access, of hoarding wealth, of hoarding opportunity, of like money, all of these things, it's like, you don't understand that it's hurting you too. White supremacy hurts white people. I won't say as much as, Black and brown people, but it's hurting you. It's an assault on your soul, your spirit, your humanity. It's also in so many ways, like with the capitalist model that we live within, of this idea that you are not good enough to raise your children. You need this $1,200 rocking machine because your arms aren't good enough. You need this, you need a house by yourself because if you're 22 and living at home, you're a failure and you should be out on your own. And we've lost multi-generational households. We all have these mortgages. We're living separately from each other. We're buying these things because we're not good enough instead of seeking aunties and neighbors and, these people to surround us in childbirth. And it's just like, my God, we've made ourselves so lonely for the sake of progress. And we are like, our ancestors had it right. And honestly, not even ancestors. I'm in my 40s. I go back to the neighborhood I grew up in. I grew up poor. I grew up in abject poverty. I knew it, right? But everybody was poor. And I knew another thing that I knew is that, my neighbor would feed me. And I had a neighbor that took care of us, and I call her Aunt Kathy, and she's just a magical human to this day. This woman who didn't have children of her own couldn't, and just said, these kids need help. These dirty, need little children, like with their little raggedy clothes, like they need help. And she became like another mother to us. So like I've experienced that. And so where the empathy comes in is that maybe Trump flag guy didn't get that, because one place where I am very lucky and privileged is that I had love in this life. I was well loved, and maybe he wasn't. So I'm going to hold space for that at the same time, holding space for him getting better. Because if we don't hold space for people getting better, then what are we even doing this work for?
Right.
I can't throw them out as much as I'd like to throw them on the curb. I can't. So.
Yeah, somehow I love that. And so beautifully said. We've somehow gotten to, especially here in America, we've gotten to a place where individualism is sort of reigns supreme, which is so weird to me. And it feels like such a pride thing. It feels like such a, and like, not that like being proud of like an achievement is a bad thing, but like it's individualism to the detriment of the collective, right? It's me doing my thing and owning it and saying fuck you to all these other spaces. Like that just feels so damaging. And weird. I just don't get it. I have a hard time wrapping my head around it. And I was raised in it. Like my father, who I don't have a relationship with, he's like a staunch sort of libertarian type, like very individual, like, he would be against banning abortions because he's all about like the individual choice, which has its own set of issues that we're talking about here. It has it's lonely. It disconnects you from community. It puts all this undue pressure on yourself. Like asking for help, I think being able to ask for help is a virtue. I think that it's a quality that we should all aspire to. I don't know why anyone would want to do anything by themselves because it's harder. Like, I just don't think we're here to do hard things. If we're doing it all by ourselves, how are we learning? Like, how are we gaining new perspective and changing along the way? Or how
are we teaching? How are we teaching? How are we leading? So this idea of like rugged individualism and pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps and being self-made, it's just such bullshit. Again, as my daughter would say, it's bullshit. And it's and it doesn't change the outcome. So let's say this, like, I'm super proud that Row House crowdfunded almost $1.2 million in 11 months. It was amazing. A huge achievement. We did it with 1,300 people, either donating or investing from $1 to $100,000. Right. So awesome. It was truly a collective achievement and every single penny counted to get us there. So there's that. If I did it with one venture capitalist or I did it with 1,300 people, we still got to 1.2 million. If I did it by myself or I did it with a lot of help that made it a lot easier, we still got to 1.2 million. I don't get the whole idea of like wanting to do it by yourself. There's nothing that I have in this life. And here's, wait a minute, actually, here's the thing. Here's the truth.
Yes.
About the whole self-made thing, which makes me laugh so much because I know the privilege of having been loved, of liking who I am, liking where I'm from, knowing who I am, right? Mm-hmm. Being loved. I understand that even getting hugs and kisses is privilege. Mm-hmm. Having a full belly is privilege. At any point in your life, if someone said, "Good job, kiddo," you're not self-made. You just aren't. It's not even a thing that is real.
Yes.
I see. Let's honor the steps so that we can learn. Instead of saying self-made, say this person worked really hard, saved their money, paid for their college, created this business, had these 10 employees, lived in their car, whatever. Tell me the story. So then someone else can pattern that, mimic that, whatever. Like, I don't read self-help. I write self-help. I read memoir because I love to know the stories of people, like how they did it, how they survived it.
Yeah.
But if you just say like this self-made person, well, where's room? You're right. Where's the room for learning? Where's the room for teaching? Well, you did it yourself. Good for you.
But your point is that they really didn't. They're completely sort of bypassing the part. They're avoiding or ignoring the fact that they did have love in this place, or they were seen in this one, or they did have this English teacher who, gave them encouraging words at one point, and then they became, like they're forgetting about all of that connection along the way.
Like, I grew up with cockroaches in my cereal. That's the grossest story I ever told. The time I found a half a cockroach in my cereal. So it's like, where's the other half? So like, that's my life. I'm not self-made. I still have tremendous privilege because I had love. I had Glenda Autry, my English teacher in middle school, who I just found. She's no longer alive. I found a little note that she sent home in a report card when I was looking through my mother's things. And it said, Rebekah has become such a great writer. I can't wait to read one of her books one day. Like, I've never seen that.
Yeah.
But that love is somewhere in me on a cellular level, that she felt that about me. So that's the thing. It's like, for me to say that I am self-made takes credit from, respect from, acknowledgement of all of these really stellar human beings that helped me get here. So anyway, and I think that on an intellectual level, every single person, no matter where they're stationed in life, they've seen the person like the Elon Musk, and we're like, oh, well, child slave labor and emeralds. We know that people don't just get there without stuff.
A lot of nepotism there.
Yeah, we get it. We get it. So yeah. I don't know why it's a value that we hold so closely as a society.
Yeah, it flummoxes me that we valorize that kind of thing. But
what a great word, flummox.
Flummox, yeah.
I'm going to use that today. Thank you.
It's a good one. I like it too. It's a word I go back to often.
I love it.
Anyways,
where are you from, by the way? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in San Luis Obispo area.
Okay.
And then southern, like South Orange County, San Juan Capistrano area a bit as well.
I can really feel the West Coast, East Coast thing happening here.
Is that right? No, I didn't want that. I lived in New York for a while.
It doesn't count.
I know it doesn't count. I know.
I can't hide the New Jersey no matter what, but I feel it's great. I love that too, because it's like the vibe is really, it's a nice balance. So,
well, it's interesting because I mean, California, I'm like so lucky and privileged. Like we own a home. I mean, it's tiny. It's 720 square feet and it's on this, but it's in Orange County, which generally as a whole, I'm not in love with. And we're in a weird rural pocket. We have a horse up the street. Like we have these 200-year-old oak trees that like take care of us above our house. Like very lucky. So,
yeah. I think it's a really cool place. It's interesting. We have a lot of conversations internally inside, my company, and then on social media around privilege and what does it mean to use your privilege or whatever. And I think that it's like Inception. It's like the privilege inside the privilege. But, I'm in New Jersey. I grew up in this row house, not much food to eat, great neighbors though, all that. I live now in a freestanding house, which is like, oof, I feel like the richest person in the world. I might as well be Beyonce because I didn't even know people lived in houses that weren't attached to each other. And we have 8 acres and my children breathe fresh air. Yeah, we live in a horse community. And cool. It's super, super cool. And it's like seeing this and having this privilege is like, okay, how do we get this for everybody? Not the same thing, but the same version of I have what I want. I have what I need. I feel well supported by the land. I feel well supported by, this structure. And it's like, that's having lived both existences and really feeling like I walk the line. I'll never be poor again. I'm sure I'll be broke. I love giving my money away, but having walked that line between many worlds, Black, white, poor, comfortable, it really makes me, it expands my imagination on what we can do for each other and what, what we should be hoping for. So I'm just, I don't know. I just feel lucky. I'm excited. I love this whole podcast. This is like the best. Thank you. This is like therapy. Wow. This is great.
Imagination is a big part of empathy, right?
Yes.
I love that. I really love that. And I the thing you said about, row house and did you say 1,300 people or
over 1,300 people?
Over 1,300 people versus the venture capitalists. What is so clear to me about that and just kind of gives me goosebumps and thinking about is the venture capitalist doesn't give a shit, right? It's just one of their many like ventures, right? But the 1,300 people are invested because they care about the core of what you're trying to achieve, right? They care about dismantling. And that's why $300 investor.
Thank you. I didn't know that.
That's why I'm part of it too, because I was like, this is amazing. This is beautiful. Let's do this together. And there's like, I feel good about it. Right. And I feel connected about it versus like, that is a stark difference between what that investor, that venture capitalist person is thinking. Right.
The vibe is good. I feel, first of all, when I first started fundraising, I was like, okay, I love books. I know a lot of people love books.
Same. You couldn't tell from where I'm sitting.
I mean, mine are everywhere. Yes, you're speaking my language there with those floor to ceiling bookshelves. my poor son, he's moving out at the end of the month he's a musician. He's a brilliant musician. He's moving out with a group of guys and they're renting a house and like going to make music. They're touring musicians and they're all going to make music together for a year.
Very cool.
And and he's moving out and I'm like already shopping for bookshelves to convert his room into another library.
Of course. Surrounded by books is a beautiful space to be in.
It is. It's how I grew up too. So I love books, but it's like, who's going to care about a publishing house? This is a nerdy thing. Like I was really scared to even ask for the money or tell people that we were doing it because it's like people love books, but like, do they really want to invest in that? The groundswell of support of people. And so there's the financial support, but the tens of thousands of people who have followed, shared, tagged, just really shouted from whatever proverbial rooftop that they have to make this happen. My goodness. I'm like, wow, the nerds are ruling the world. Like this is the possibility too. That's the other thing that it taught me. Because so many people are like, we'll just find some rich people and get like that money.
Yeah.
But the noise that this created, which is, I'd rather 1,300 people in a room building community, but it makes anything possible. It makes it. We are so powerful as a collective, as cheesy or cliche or whatever that is.
True.
It's like, there are more of us.
Yeah.
That's the other secret, not so secret. There's more of us.
That's right. Yeah. More voices, more hearts. Yeah.
And one more thing, because this is really important. And I want to get this in. There are so many ways to activate, right? There are so many ways to show up in this world. And, I might be out on the street with my little sign and like screaming, or I might be in the voting booth, or someone else might be baking pies and like selling them. There are so many ways. There are no wrong ways. Let's not hurt each other.
We need all the types. We need all of them.
But also, let's break some windows. Let's set some stuff on fire because we're so unique. Our voices are so unique. There's just not one way, and we need it all to bring about this change. I very much am a by any means necessary person. I was radicalized young by Malcolm X and the Black Panthers and Eldridge Cleaver that I was reading at 13. And Maya Angelou too, though she wrote poetry. It's like we riot, we write, we do all the things, and it's all important. And that's another reason why I love these 1,300 people, because we had 80-year-old grandmothers whose adult middle-aged child just came out as trans.
Mm-hmm.
We have teenagers that were like sending us $10. All of them, black, white, queer, whatever, all of them. My goodness, what a community. We're so
Wonderful.
much more alike than we are different. That's my last cliche, I promise.
I agree. We have a ton of shared humanity that we forget to tap into and forget to bring up. Yeah, absolutely. So Row House, you raised $1.2 million. Like what is the goal for the next couple of years? Like what is this would be amazing to achieve?
This is where I struggle with imagination, because what has happened so far is really beyond my imagination.
Mm-hmm.
The money, the support, the books that we've been able to publish already, the authors that we've been able to sign. We have 34 books in contract right now. Simon & Schuster, who's a giant in the industry though. They're a giant and also just a huge champion of our mission and has been just working their butts off to make sure our books sell. We're putting out a tarot deck called 420 Tarot by cannabis enthusiast Juliana W. Rose. Nice. And I'm like, but it also speaks to cannabis activism and the whole prison industrial complex and all of that. And it's just really, really beautiful, colorful, fun, whimsical, serious deck. And I'm very transparent with numbers. We ordered 5,000 decks. It was ambitious, but I'm like, okay, I think we can do this. And we have oversold. We already have 6,200 orders out. And so we just had to call China and be like, we need more decks. This is happening. It's beyond my imagination. The only thing that it's taught me is to be open for anything. So do I have a goal? Not necessarily. I'll say this, and I was saying it from the beginning. My dream is that a fat, Black, queer, trans woman walks into Penguin Random House, Simon & Schuster, Hachette, whatever, and says, yo, those people over at Row House are giving $40,000 advances and 40% royalty share. I want that. Like, don't necessarily sign with us because we might not be your vibe, but we want to challenge, we want to force the hand of every major publisher. And let's say in every industry, right? Music, whatever.
Yeah.
To pay their artists fairly. So that's the dream.
I believe it can be done. And
I do too. It's
I'm
happening.
grateful for you and the whole Row House community to lead with your hearts in that way. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm lucky. One thing Trudy LeBron says is that, your employees are not lucky to have a job. You are lucky to have them working for you, elevating you. Like, I sit as the president, whatever. I didn't want a C-suite. I didn't want to be a CEO. So I'm sitting here as the president because I have to give myself a title or whatever. And I just feel like the lucky one every day.
Yeah.
My goodness. I never have to write a book again. Thank goodness. I get to bring other people's books into the world. Yeah.
I love it. Well, let's talk about Empathy Heroes. This is kind of how we wrap up the show.
Sure.
Where you and I will mention someone in our lives, maybe even a character from a story, a character from a movie or a book we love. I will name my empathy hero first to give you a moment to reflect. My empathy hero this week is actually a new podcast from Lemonada Media called Being Trans. And it's a audio storytelling. It's really fun, and it's like really well made, and all the actors involved are really good, and it's just an interesting and beautiful look into the normal lives of trans humans. And I saw that Lemonada was getting a bunch of just bigoted comments and 1 stars on Apple Podcasts by people who didn't even hear the show and who hate trans people. So listener, if you're listening to this, subscribe to Being Trans, give it a thoughtful and beautiful review if that feels right, but give it 5 stars because it's getting tanked by 1-star people. And it's a beautiful show. It's called Being Trans. Look it up on Spotify or wherever you get your pods. But that podcast is my empathy hero this week.
I love that. I'm going to amplify that. And I'm a real advocate of give it 5 stars, even if you don't listen. Leave a dishonest review how great it is if you don't have the time.
There you go. Because
people just doing good things for other people to uplift.
I hear that.
So, okay, my empathy hero. I keep a lot of things around me. You could see toys in the background and whatever. I'm a very child-centered person. My first and always is Fred Rogers.
Oh yeah. The best.
I don't think that many people have a full grasp on how much he revolutionized the way that we talk to, teach, lead children, how much respect he had for children. So I love him so much. And then I have two. And interestingly enough, there's podcasts about them from the same producer. So there's Finding Fred, which is very popular, very beautiful, but there's a new one by, oh my gosh, this person has my whole heart. It's Finding Raffi. So Raffi is a very famous children's musician. I grew up on him, Baby Beluga in the Deep Blue Sea, like all that. So Raffi was another one who just had tremendous respect for children, had a real knowing of how reaching children and teaching them how to love each other, love themselves, and celebrate their wackiness and their weirdness is just so good for the planet and for our collective future.
Yeah.
And I have for him a child of genocide, Armenian genocide survivors, refugees who grew up not being held in the way that emotionally that he felt maybe he needed, but like turning that into this art for children. It's a huge influence on my life. I love books, but children's books are my heart and soul. I'm also a children's book author. I'm very, very much invested in teaching children about their emotional health from my own experiences of being, kind of lost in that way as a kid. So yeah, Fred Rogers and Raffi, man.
The great ones.
The great ones.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, Rebekah, where can the listeners connect with you? Obviously, learn more about Row House Publishing, etc.
Well, if you want to see me posting random selfies of me in a bathing suit, because it was hard because I'm middle-aged and I'm about to be a grandma, and just my random musings about mental health or whatever, you can find me at Bex Life, BEX Life. It's like Thug Life with unicorns and rainbows. And then there, and Rage Against the Machine and Rainbow Connection. And then Row House Pub everywhere. Row House Pub. I'm a deeply social behind a screen person. So when you see posts on Row House, it's me, and I just love to answer every comment and connect. So,
Amazing. Yep. Well, that's awesome. And listeners, those links will be in the show notes at feelyhuman.co. Rebekah, this was lovely. We were wayward and all over the place, and it's exactly how I want it. So thank you.
I don't think so. I think that we were centered in truth and love and feely feels.
We
were.
We
were in our lane. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure beyond.
Likewise. And to you listeners, as I always say, I'm here, you're here, we're here together on this wayward, overwhelming, awe-inspiring pale blue dot. We have each other. It's You, Me, Empathy.